All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect to the nation of Israel. This is going to be a video and a lesson talking about how Esau has been used and been given the delusion or the illusion of thinking that he can win against God. All right, he's thinking that he can step outside of the realms of what God is in control of. So, okay, of what God is in control of, man. This is Romans chapter 9 and verse 22. What if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured in much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction? Right? And what that's talking about is, what about if God endured or allowed wickedness to take place from a group of people, right? But at the end of it all, he knew that he was going to destroy them and he was going to give them such power, right? And allow them to get such power that only he could take them down, so that when he took them down with ease, then it showed his power, right? And this same thing was done. Let me just do this a second. This same thing was done with Pharaoh, all right? When you go to Exodus, I believe it's 9 and 16. Yeah, here we go. Exodus chapter 9 and verse 16. And in very deed, for this same cause have I raised thee up, for to show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. And that story that took place, how long ago, if we estimate, let's say at least 3,000 plus years ago, right? This story that took place from just a random, like rough estimation, about 3,000 years ago, we still talk about it now, right? That story is still one of the most amazing stories that people talk about all the time, man. And that people would have wished to been there to see the events that took place on that day. And in those times, they would have wished to been there to see them stuff take place, man. Right? They would have wished to be there to see the Exodus story. They would have wished to been there to see the plagues, knowing that they would survive through it. They would have wished to see the sea split, the Gulf of Suez, near the Red Sea split, and be able to walk across that, man. People would have wished to be that, to see that, right? They would have wanted to know what happened. And people still to this day talk about that, right? There's many movies that get made about that. There's the famous Disney one, right? Then there's the also famous Ten Commandments movie, right? That's got the Paleo Hebrew tablets on there, right? And then there's many other movies, newer ones that have been made too, about that story, the Exodus, right? The Passover ceremony is still kept by Israelites still to this day, man, by us, right? Not by them fake ones, but even them fake ones, when they trying to keep it thinking that story is talking about them, they're still keeping that story alive too, right? But they're thinking that it's their history when it's not, though. And what's going to prove that it's not is who Yahweh's coming to save this time round. If he comes to save them, then I guess it was talking about them. But if he comes to save us and take them down, then it was talking about us. And what's the prophecy say? The prophecy, according to prophecy, right? There's going to be a greater salvation than even that. There's going to be a greater salvation than that, man. And all the people that think that people using screen recorders to teach the Bible and talking about why ain't they got them Spielberg cameras, why ain't they got no productions on their videos and all that, right? Thinking that people don't know what they're talking about. Well, they're gonna see when all the things in their world that they've been able to get popularity from and riches from and been able to get some kind of praise from the world from, when all of those things start fading away and the truth in the Bible is the only thing that matters, these people are going to know then. Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 7, therefore behold the days come, saith Yahweh, that they shall no more say, Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all countries where I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. So it's going to be known, man, who the Israelites are in that day, because they're going to be taken from the North Country and from everywhere else. And the salvation that they're going to receive is going to be so great that it's going to make people forget about when people think about the Israelites, their first thoughts are not going to be the Exodus story no more, even though that's written in the scriptures very early on in the book, right? They're going to start thinking about the new salvation that the Israelites received. The old salvation is still going to be remembered because the Passover is a celebration to keep from year to year for the rest of our generations. But that's not going to be the first thought what's going to come up in the mind of Yahweh's greatest work for the Israelites no more. That Yahweh's greatest work is going to be updated for what he did for the Israelites. And the update is going to be when he saved them from America, which is Babylon the Great, right? And at the same time, simultaneously saved them from everywhere else that there was too, and brought them up in chariots. And while he was doing that, sent his son Yahweh Shai to do that first off, and was destroying everybody else down on the earth, and destroyed America in 1 hour, a place that all the other countries, even though they teamed up against it, couldn't have completely took it down by themselves. They had to team up, and Yahweh used, it's going to be known, man, all the works that took place, right? It's going to be known, everything that took place, just like how when we look back and think of the Exodus story now, right, we always think, man, Pharaoh was an idiot, because we know how it ends for him. We always think, man, that Pharaoh was a fool to try and come up. He should have just let the Israelites go. That's what's always thought of now. Just like how when we think of Esau, we're going to be like, man, Esau was an idiot. He did what? He really thought he was going to put a charagma in every single person on earth, and even on the animals. He really thought he was going to get away with that. He's a fool. That's how people are going to think about it, man. But who made him be that fool? Yahweh did, right? Yahweh made him be an idiot like that. Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 4. Yahweh have made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. So they've been built up to have this pride, because without this pride, they wouldn't be able to go through with the things, and if they didn't have pride, right, they wouldn't try and make a charagma and pull it on everybody. They wouldn't make a CBDC system. They wouldn't say we're going to rewrite the Bible with the AI. They wouldn't say all of these things. They wouldn't make what's the machine called, man? CERN machine. They wouldn't make that. They wouldn't be trying to open up portals, right? They wouldn't be making robots that they kind of think that they're going to be able to put AI in them and turn them into their own type of angels, that look like whatever they think's perfect in their mind. They wouldn't be able to they wouldn't go through with trying to do those things. They'd be like, man, we can't win. They'd just humble down and say we can't win. But Pharaoh was given pride and had his heart hardened so that he thought he could win. And Esau's the new Pharaoh, right? He's the new captor that don't want to let the Israelites go. And Pharaoh was the old one. And if these Edomites had any wisdom, which they don't, they would have understood what happened to the Israelite, what happened to the Pharaoh, or happened to the captors of the Israelites every single time. When have the Israelites ever not escaped out of the captivity that they was put in and the oppression? When? Name one time. Name, like, that's a thing for these Christians. Name one time that Yahweh never had mercy on the Israelites. Can you name one time that he never ended up sparing the multitude for the sake of the remnant? When did he ever not do that? Revelation chapter 4 and verse 11. Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created. And here's the thing that these Christians always try and forget whenever they're trying to say that the Israelites are done away with. Yahweh Shai is an Israelite, you dummies. Yahweh Shai is an Israelite. So how can Yahweh use an Israelite to die for the sins of the Israelites, right? Make an Israelite come back to bring salvation, but he's an Israelite himself, but then the Israelites are done away with. How can the Israelites be done away with that when the Messiah is an Israelite? It doesn't make any sense, does it? But Christianity, as people understand it, as people understand the Bible through the eyes of Christianity, doesn't make any sense. Because nowhere can you read in the Old Testament that the Israelites was ever cast away. Because some didn't believe. And the Bible says in the Old Testament that God doesn't change. So therefore in the New Testament, in fact, let me read it, watch this. Listen to this. For the people that care about what's in the scriptures, listen to this, man. Malachi chapter 3 and verse 6. For I am Yahweh, I change not. Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. Even from the days of your fathers ye are gone away from my ordinances, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith Yahweh of hosts. But ye say, wherein shall we return? And that's what most people say. Because Christianity's messed up what the Bible's really talking about, right? Most of you Israelites out there haven't said, you know what, let me pick it up and see what it says in there then. You're still blinded by whatever Christians have told you is in there. You ain't said, you know what, let me read it for myself and see what's in there, and haven't said, you know what, there's all these guys out there that teach the Bible. Let me see if what they're saying about it is true before I start scoffing. Let me read this book, because this book is very powerful on our people, man. So let me see if there's a reason for why this book's been powerful on our people. Verse 8, will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. And that's why we're cursed, man. Because we didn't want to respect Yahweh's way. And still now we don't do it. You'll have some guys that don't own a city, don't even own no houses in there, right? But they're in a gang, and they'll hear that another Israelites come into the city, and they're talking about, you better check in. Huh? Check in what? Do you own the airport? No, you don't, bruh. But you're trying to extort your own brother. Talking about, you better check in with me, right? When you don't even own nothing there. You ain't even up on nothing to own. You don't even own nothing in this place. But you're talking about, you better check in. Trying to extort people to try and feel like you've got some power when you ain't got none, apart from to threaten your own people, right? Verse 10, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that ye may, and that's a curse, by the way. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 54 is the Bible scripture that you can go to read that curse, man. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, and prove me now that herewith, saith Yahweh of hosts, if I will not open your windows of if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing, that there shall be no room enough to receive it, that there shall not be room enough to receive it, and I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your vine cast her fruit before time in the field, saith Yahweh of hosts, and all nations shall call you blessed, for ye shall be a delightsome land, saith Yahweh of hosts. So how are the Israelites cast away? If how can people say that this don't still stand? This didn't change because Yahweh sent Yahweh Shai to die for the Israelites, right? In fact, it became strengthened by that. That's what these Christians don't understand. Yahweh Shai dying for the Israelites, this thing became even more strengthened. So what are you people talking about, man? Yahweh never made no. The Passover is the greatest work of Yahweh, right? In fact, let me go back to that. Let me go back to that. Because what's the main thing, one of the main things in the world that people know Yahweh from, right? What is the main thing in the world that people know the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob from? It's this. Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 7. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that they shall no more say, Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. That's Yahweh's best work. That's Yahweh's most great work that he's known for still to this day. That's the work that Yahweh decided to say, I'm going to do this so that my name can be declared for all the earth. He wanted his name to be declared for all the earth, right? By him saving the Israelites out of the land of Egypt. Not by him coming down and saying to the Egyptians and the Israelites, you know what? Nah, man. You remember what happened at the Tower of Babel? All y'all need to get along, man. He never said that, did he? He said, no, the greatest work I'm going to make myself be known for is going to be by saving the Israelites out of the land of Egypt, by saving the Israelites. And then now, the next great work that he's about to perform is going to be by him saving the Israelites out of the North Country. That's going to be his next thing that he's going to make himself known by, man. That's going to be the next thing that he wants himself to be known by doing that and by destroying the Edomites. But what if he did? What if? It's not even a what if, man. He built these Edomites up so that he can break them down, right? He built them up so he can break them down, man. Isaiah chapter 47 and verse 6. I was wroth with my people, and hath polluted mine inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou verily heavily laid thy yoke, and thou sayest in thy heart, and thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it, and they forgot what's going to happen, man. They forgot what always happened whenever people put their hands on the Israelites. Always, there's literally 100% record of every single time people put their hands on the Israelites, they ended up getting punished for that. Either by the hands of the Israelites personally, or by Yahweh judging their nation, man. Every single nation has always ended up, every single nation's kingdom that tried to oppress the Israelites to build themselves up, always ended up getting oppressed and ended up getting destroyed eventually. Every single time, 100% of the time. So why would now be any different, man? It doesn't make any sense. Yahweh Shai dying strengthened God's love for the Israelites. And that's what John 3:16 is talking about, which these Christians can't understand that, right? John chapter 3 and verse 16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And really, when you go to Isaiah 45 and verse 17, which I'm going to do, Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 17, but Israel shall be saved in Yahweh with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be shamed nor confounded, world without end. So understanding that, right? When you go to John chapter 3 and verse 16, you could really say, instead of saying the world, you could really say Israel, man, because Israel is that world. So if I say the word Israel instead of the word world, you'll understand it clearly. But it's written this way on purpose so that you Christians can't get it, man. So that you can make a whole fake doctrine to try and lie. John chapter 3 and verse 16, for God so loved, watch if I replace the word, man. For God so loved Israel that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And you could quite easily replace the word world for Israel, since Israel is that world. Because when you read the conversation that this is taking place between who's talking here, John chapter 3 and verse 1, there was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. This whole conversation in John chapter 3 is a conversation between two Israelites. So it would have been known who the world is when talking to another Israelite, man. But I'm going to end the lesson there. God deceived these Edomites, built them up so that he can destroy them. Shalom.